You heard it here first. This kid really might be the best cornerback prospect to come out of college since Jalen Ramsey. Book it. You guys, we got to discuss Derek Stingley Jr., the cornerback coming out of LSU. The kid is an absolute athletic freak at the position. The dude is 6'1", 195 pounds. He was a five-star recruit coming out of high school, and he has always lived up to the billing. His most flashiest, his most dynamic season came in 2019 at LSU, where he was able to rack up being a first-team All-American. He also was a first-team All-SEC in 2019. He was the SEC All. He made the SEC All Freshman team, and he was the SEC Newcomer of the Year. On top of that, in years 2020, he was also a first-team All-American, and he made first-team All-SEC as well. But when it comes to Derek Stingley Jr.'s game, what more can you ask for? What more do you really want from the kid? The dude has tremendous ball skills at the position, and he has an uncanny ability to mirror the wide receiver's routes. He does an amazing job at understanding leverage and also using the wide receivers' leverage against them as well. And like I mentioned before, he has great size for the position, being 6'1", 195 pounds. He's essentially the prototype, the type of guy that you want at that position. Big enough to compete with these big body wide receivers, but also quick enough to keep up with the short, stocky, twitchy wide receivers as well. Derek Stingley, he's twitching his own right. He has an explosive nature, especially in short and intermediate routes. And football is literally in this kid's blood. His father played in the Arena Football League, and his grandfather played in the NFL as well, Daryl Stingley. But Derek Stingley Jr. isn't just great in pass coverage. You know, the fact that he's able to guard not only man-to-man coverages, but also zone schemes as well. He has an amazing ability to read and react to the quarterback's eyes and to the wide receiver's movements, being extremely disciplined, paying attention to the midsection of the body rather than getting lost with the ball, getting lost with the action of the feet. But Derek Stingley is also extremely reliable in run defense as well. He's an underrated tackler. I was looking at some of his films, some of his highlights, and he just shows great discipline when it comes to attacking the ball carrier. He doesn't get too caught up in the weeds and get caught up in the dance moves. Once he sets his eyes on you, he pretty much beelines to you, and he allows himself to secure the tackle and doesn't get caught up. But you know, Derek Stingley, what shines the most about him outside of just the ball skills, outside of the the pure athleticism, outside of the run defense, it's his instincts, it's his football IQ, his ability to just understand exactly what the wide receiver is trying to do. I was looking at the film, and it just seems like he's literally copycatting wide receivers. I can't remember the exact game or who they played against, because I watched so many of the highlights, watched so many different games of his, and he just has this strange ability to literally mirror exactly what the opposing wide receiver wants to do. He basically ends up running the route for the wide receiver, and then once the ball's in the air, he turns to the wide receiver himself. There's plenty of times where that ball went in the air, and I was watching Derek Stingley Jr. move, and he looked like the wide receiver, and the wide receiver looked like the cornerback. You dig what I'm saying? So Derek Stingley, he's going to be a tremendous prospect coming out of LSU. Now, I do have some questions about his 2020 and 2021 campaigns at LSU. I do understand that LSU had a lot of coaching turnover. They had a lot of dysfunction. With Coach Orgeron and the scandals and things of that nature. There was so much going on at LSU during that time. LSU had really bad years statistically, and the program in general really couldn't get out of their own way. There were so many distractions, so much stuff going on behind the scenes. It led evaluators to question Derek Stingley Jr.'s focus on the field. But it's kind of an unfair assessment when you think about the entire program, the entire team as a whole was pretty much out of sorts, and no one really played up to their fullest potential. So you can really chalk up those down years for Derek Stingley you can chalk it up to dysfunction within the organization, within the program. And just essentially, it was hard for everyone to really get their eyes on the prize. There was real inconsistencies with coaching and things of that nature. But something that stuck out to me outside of just the dysfunction at the LSU program in 2020 and 2021, he caught the injury bug twice, 2 seasons in a row. And that's why the numbers for him seem down. You don't really see as many interceptions. You don't really see as much production because he missed games. As a matter of fact, 2 seasons in a row, he couldn't finish the season. So there's something to be said about that. How will his health be a concern at the next level? But outside of his health, outside of the spotty lack of focus in 2020 and 2021, the kid had an amazing 2019 campaign, and you can't really argue with a talent like his. You can't argue with what he brings to the table from a physical standpoint, from an athletic standpoint, from an IQ standpoint, just from a pure football standpoint. Watching him is like watching a wide receiver play corner, and he just does an amazing job at sticking with guys at the hip. And he's really good and very disciplined with his hands, and can definitely beat guys at the press coverage, in the press, excuse me, with his strong hands. Granted, he doesn't have the longest of reach, but he does exactly what he needs to do, and he understands his body. He understands what he's capable of doing, what he's not capable of doing, and he essentially forces the wide receiver to play into his hands. But Derek Stingley Jr., he's someone I feel like the Eagles should definitely try to consider going after if he falls to them at pick 15. Who knows? Maybe the Philadelphia Eagles may trade up for Derek Stingley Jr. But the Philadelphia Eagles have many holes on the defense outside of just corner. They have holes on the edge. They have holes in linebacker. They have holes at safety. On top of that, Derek Stingley has shown the capability of not just playing outside corner. He's also capable of playing nickel corner and playing the safety position if necessary. So he's very versatile. He can pretty much do whatever you need him to do. But you guys tell me how you feel about Derek Stingley Jr. Do you guys believe Derek Stingley Jr. is the best prospect coming out of this year's draft? Do you guys think Derek Stingley is the best cornerback coming out of this draft? Do you guys even think Derek Stingley may be the best cornerback to come out of this draft since Jalen Ramsey graced the NFL with his presence? Make sure you guys comment below and tell me what you think. Also, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel as well. Super grateful for all the support, and that's all I have for you guys. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II from Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. One love, stay humble, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay hungry.